Well, he highlights something that says it's important. Thank you.
Very good.
All right. Scott and I met last Monday and went through Articles 5 and 6 like we did Article 4. We've already been through that once here and just got Scott's comments and got some comments. So that was more cleaning it up and putting it into those initial set-ins. So we can go back to that one more. But before we get there, I hand out a one-sheeter of the first 2 pages of Article 4 because we discussed that last time, and I wanted to run those by you just so you can see what we discussed and talked about in writing, just to confirm it's where we ended up. And Scott and I talked about this on Monday as well. And really what we're doing is A, B, and C, where we talk about making sure we're getting what requires a preliminary and final, what requires just a final, and what doesn't require a land development plan at all. And we think what we have here reflects what we talked about, and B, most importantly, that there's nothing that falls through the cracks either. So requiring both preliminary and final is 5 or more lots or dwelling units. Anything that involves the construction, installation, or extension of new public improvements, that goes to both. If you can go straight to a final plan, it's like a phase plan of an approved preliminary, a lot addition or lot consolidation plan, 4 or fewer lots, plan that does not involve the extension of new public improvements, plan that proposes 1 acre of earth disturbance without any coverage, plan that proposes improvements that require stormwater management facilities. And then subdivision plan shall not be required for a plan that proposes improvements that do not require stormwater management facilities and is less than 1 acre of earth disturbance. We think that covers everything that we discussed and is fairly thorough. Now, can I promise there's not going to be something creative that's going
like the next one that comes in?
I can't promise that, but if one of those things comes up, then we'll congratulate them for their creativity. The other thing on page 2 there about copies of the plan, I added a caveat in there about has good attention of engineer and then any other entity identified by the township for review. So that's if something comes in and they decide it has to go to somebody else to make sure. For some reason, you want to send it to the school district.
Yeah, good.
Type of thing.
Okay.
So that's it. The rest of Article 4 was just clean up. It was pretty simple. That was the big thing that we wanted to show you, just to make sure that it reflects what we talked about, and it's to show you that we think we got it to a point where it's covers all scenarios.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Next up, we'll go to Article 5, and this is the design standards. You're also going to need a map for this one, so keep that handy.
Okay.
In fact, may as well get the map out. The first thing we'll talk about here is on page 3, and this gets to the roadway classification, and this really impacts proposing new roads, what standards they design it to. We talked about like a roadway inventory map to show what's out there. The map that I pulled together here is the township roads. There's state and township roads on there, and what I've overlaid there in color is the functional class map that applies to state roads, really. And that really identifies your arterials, which are basically, not unsurprisingly, 15 and 94. Your collectors, which is Old Harrisburg and Idaho York Springs. And I'm sorry, and arterials would also be 34, 15, 94, and 34. And then the collectors would be Idaho York Springs and Old Harrisburg Road. Again, this is by the state road, and the federal standards that we maintain. And again, just to be clear, those standards only apply we maintain apply to state roads. They don't apply to local roads. That's why everything that's either the low volume state roads or township roads are shown as local. So from that perspective, the question that the arterials in the classification system, you have arterials, collectors, minor, and alleys. The arterials will still be arterials. The collectors will still be collectors. The rest would be minor, unless you think there are roads that are township roads that you might think are a local version of a collector type of thing. So I presented this, and I know that you're seeing it the first time. Scott's just got it this afternoon, so it might be a little early to decide, but I wanted to put that in front of you here to something to think about there. There's a few in there that are blue that are listed as township or private. I'm not 100% Lime Rock, Pine Swamp.
Lime
Swamp.
Rock, that should be an
We
interesting.
abandoned, turned it back.
Yeah, like I said, that's our our system not catching up to yours.
Turned it back to who?
Yeah,
Property owner.
lots.
It's still a button.
But Manor
it's in
Lane,
gangways,
don't
though.
we plow that?
We used to, but not anymore.
Not
Not
anymore?
anymore.
Okay, okay. I didn't realize that.
Okay.
So, like I said, I'll defer to you guys on your local knowledge of these and engineers to whether the needs again, this doesn't have to reflect the state ones that we maintain, but it's yours.
Cranberry gets lost.
Yeah, Cranberry Road does.
That coming from York Springs up to Old Carlisle Road, where it eventually gets to it, there's a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
run that way off of Old Carlisle Road down through and come down through by Geis and comes into our township and comes on down to York Springs. There's a lot of people run that road. I don't know,
Well,
I didn't realize that was all township road.
You're saying from 34 on over to
No.
94 or?
Old Cranberry, I'm sorry.
Cranberry,
that's state
Old
road.
from in
Carlisle
town
Road,
here.
Cranberry to where the bank was in York Springs.
Okay.
That's state road.
Yeah, that's state
That's
road.
state road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again,
But
these are all roads in the town, and so there are state roads that.
Yeah.
Like, let me back up here a little bit.
Okay.
When it comes, the classification legends you see there, those are the functional classifications that we work with at the federal level. Freeway and expressway, that's really pretty
Right.
self-explanatory. Principal arterials, again, it's relatively straightforward. Think your big 30, 15, 94. Other arterials, it's your major roads that are designed to connect things. Collectors are pretty self-explanatory. Local, anything that's not one of those two gets lumped under other, basically other. They call them local roads. I call them, it's the 4-digit state routes that sometimes have more, very low traffic volumes.
Right.
They're the ones that are most likely to be tarred and chipped by PennDOT more than anything else. Now, that doesn't mean that you could, if one's locally important from yours on a design perspective, you might not want it to be something different, or a township road that you might there. This is just a starting point.
I know Cranberry, Cranberry doesn't suit as Gun Club. Cutting across from 94 over to 234.
Yeah.
It's like
well, just in this article, PSAT had out a couple months back, they strongly encourage townships, if you have a question like that, to do a vehicle count on the road.
PennDOT, yeah, you can get the traffic counts from PennDOT on those roads, I mean.
Well, what do you do with it when you get where
Yeah,
you're headed?
you'd have,
Well, it might surprise
refer to our
people
engineer.
in how high they are or how low they are.
Okay, and then,
And then,
Then
yeah,
you can
and
then
make
what?
it. Well, then you have something to go on.
Well, based on the traffic
what?
volumes, you can determine what classification it is.
yeah,
okay, just to change the classification.
right.
Does that,
And then
Does that
what?
make any
Yeah.
difference?
But
Yeah.
on state roads, it can. The difference between a local road and a collector road could depend on what type of, when it gets resurfaced or
Okay.
redone,
All right.
what design standards you use. It can influence what funding category it gets done out of.
Right.
Like a local road is probably only going to be done out of the Department of Forces maintenance budget.
Okay.
Other ones might, like the minor collectors might get up into the department's next level up.
Okay.
If it's an arterial, it might get on the tip
All right.
type of thing. So it can have some impact.
All right, got it.
Occasionally, you'll have a local, and I'm going to pick on Sheeler and Boyd School down in Strabane,
yeah,
Right.
Gettysburg. If you're familiar with it,
Yeah.
that's a township road.
That's a township road?
Yeah, it's a township road that has somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000 cars on it a day,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
larger than a lot of state roads.
Yes.
So it's one of the there's a handful of local roads that are on federal functional class. Usually they're park. That one was added because it's of its local importance.
That's part of that loop that people use for the bypass around Gettysburg, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
In our situation, educate me, Cranberry is state,
Mhm.
Gun Club is township.
No, it's state
State
back to
road.
Wireman Mill. From 94 to Wireman Mill is state, and then it turns township
I
from
didn't know
Wireman Mill back to 234.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I always go, and I bet this might be wrong, but I always go, if they had the double lines in the middle,
Yeah,
it's state.
Yeah, and white
Is
lines
that
along
right?
the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
normally the single line is not wide.
It's not wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that wasn't wide enough, but I didn't know
Yeah.
whether
Well, it's
that.
like Oxford Road though, it ends right there at the bridge at Meridian.
That
Or actually
switches.
right before it. From there to Idaville Road is township.
Yep.
From Idaville Road to,
Goodyear, I mean.
yeah,
Okay.
Goodyear is state.
Okay.
So it's state, township, state.
And then it's from Goodyear to the county line is township.
Yeah,
Okay.
Just that little piece,
yeah,
about
it's crazy. I mean,
400 yards.
But
Okay.
they go by the ADT, the average daily traffic volume on a road in PennDOT. And those PennDOT roads, you can, Scott knows, I mean, you can pull that stuff up off of PennDOT's site and they'll give you what they are.
Oh, you got a map right there.
With the counts on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how old it is, but
Yeah, I know PennDOT's out,
Yeah.
PennDOT was just out in Gun Club this year and
Yeah,
had
almost.
tapes out there.
1999.
And everything.
it's not quite 30.
Yeah, not
But those two roads possibly could be classified as collectors if the volume's high.
Which were you saying?
Well, Cranberry and Gun Club, at least the state section.
Well, yeah, but the Gun Club, it's the township section too. I mean,
Yeah.
they run the whole thing
Yeah,
down to
they run the
234.
whole-
They run it down to
They run
234.
the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. Where are we
No,
going?
back to-
Well, at a very, it's a good discussion. I would like to see who's got a chance to review it from an engineering perspective and come back and see what he thinks. But I want to get it in front of you for the discussion. I can sort of look into some things. I don't advertise it. We do have traffic equipment. We've used them here for the township before.
Okay.
I only do it on township roads. I do not do it on state roads. It's as much a safety thing as it is anything else. That's an option in certain cases. I know I do it in support of the dirt and gravel, low volume
Okay,
program.
okay,
Some of the ones that apply, there's a couple that apply regularly that know to ask
okay.
type of thing. I don't advertise it out there because I want to, I do it because I have experience doing it, not because we have the equipment, not because it's something that we want to do regularly. So, but the also point is the part here about street widths and design standards are triggered. Planners to trigger it by the map. It's the companion to the cross sections that Scott prepared about what the designs look like. That would be an appendix to the ordinance here.
And this might be a little more applicable in a more urban township around Harrisburg or around Carlisle and Kingsburg. They have a lot more higher classification township owned and maintained streets. The township here, we probably don't have anything that would even, we might have it, like you said, Cranberry, we'll have to look at it, might be considered a minor collector, but probably not.
Okay.
It wouldn't apply in this rural area as much, but you might have an explosion of growth in York Springs in 10 years or something. And the township might have to include as part of someone else's development, commercial development.
Right.
It might be a minor collector road that they'll have to build and dedicate to the township. So then that way we have minimum specifications for that construction now.
So that's something we follow up in the future.
Is that our
Call
phone?
from Steve Cashman, Diana.
Oh, jeez.
Call from
That's
Steve
township
Cashman,
phone.
Diana.
I'll get it. If I can get up. I'll fall over.
Just changed your mind.
Zoning machine already got it.
Who is it?
I don't know.
Okay,
Diana Cashman.
okay,
Maybe one of them random cards.
yeah.
Okay. Next thing there, on page 4. Some of these I'm highlighting discussions that Scott and I had about changes we made to basically your comments there. This is about things for provision of when additional street width may be required.
There she is.
She clearly has your
Hello.
number.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a meeting. Can I call you back? All right, bye. Sorry about that.
So you see the part that 1B that's highlighted in yellow there. It's for parking in commercial industrial areas. There was something that talks about high density, and defining it. We figured it's easy to just take that out and just focus on the commercial and industrial sides. Figured that the residential side would take care of itself as part of the design process. Page 6. Cul-de-sacs. I highlighted this after a discussion with Scott here because I just wanted to make sure that we're still one last check that we're all on the same page with the numbers in there. I think Scott and I were comfortable with them. I just want to make sure that we're all still on the same.
Dimensions of cul-de-sac streets and whatnot. That's what we're talking about right now.
Okay. $1,500 feet.
For temporary. Remember we were talking about, an example of Sloan Springs, how we looked at the way they loop. Sometimes the loop would not be connected in one phase to the other.
Yeah. I was trying to remember why we even had temporary, but no, okay. Seems fine.
When you're done, will that connect to the other road at the lower end?
Yeah, it would, as part of the preliminary plan, it would have to be.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Right.
Next up, on top of page 6, this is a comment that Scott had added for me to look into about street names.
You top of page 8?
Yeah, I'm sorry, top of page 8.
Okay, all right.
Did I say 6?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So the higher than yellow is a new sentence here. I've added this. I haven't necessarily run this by people, but the bottom line is there's no county road master. There's no real entity out there that signs off on road names. The only thing we have is the addressing, which happens at the tax office. So the only thing I could think of is, because I know we have duplication of road names in the county, not necessarily in the same municipality, but like there's 2 Irish Town roads, for example. That would-
Multiple gun clubs,
Right.
2 or 3 gun.
So the only thought I have is there's already a requirement if they're proposing new streets that they have to check on addressing. So it shouldn't be a big deal to they have road names, run by them and say, hey, are there any duplications here? And get some sort of communication back from them saying yes or no. Not asking them to prove anything, saying yes, there's duplication, no, there's not. So that we know when it's proved that there's there. They still have to do the addressing. They still have to do all that. It's just a little check to make sure that what they're proposing has no duplications.
I've just seen too many times where a developer comes in, throws it on the plan, and says Street A, Street B, Street C.
Yeah.
And it goes almost till it gets approved, and they still haven't
Changed.
haven't done it.
Name.
Yeah.
Get a name, do the 10-minute call to get the names of the streets.
Does emergency management services, do they do any review of that?
No.
So-
You got
Strictly the tax office, the
Yeah.
mapping office.
There's been discussions in the past about where the addressing and all that should be.
gotta make sure.
At the moment, it's at taxes.
I'm thinking, I must be thinking York County. I think York County, they,
You gotta make sure.
So,
At least give them a township there, otherwise
yeah.
there's stuff floats
Yeah.
around.
but somebody has to make an oversight because you get into duplication of names and then emergency services have the problem of which road is it.
Yeah, which one that is.
If it's not,
But are you saying it could change?
Well,
Because it could change, maybe you should have, or
Right.
appropriate authority.
okay.
you know,
So let's look history. In '87, the director that I'm hired on, that at least some of you know of, came here, and the planning office was doing all the addressing. That got changed really quickly, and it got shifted to mapping. It was at mapping ever since. Then, when offices got switched around, part of mapping came with us. The addressing part was shifted over the tax section because it went with a specific person. Now, could that be shifted out to emergency services when that person is no longer with the county? That's very possible. There's been those discussions. We have a relationship with the office out there. At the moment, it doesn't. So I can put or other
You want
Or
office type
yeah.
of
Or, yeah,
thing.
appropriate,
Or other-
appropriate authority or
Yeah.
office, yeah.
Because we had trouble over in Latimer Township because the phone number, the property is Adams County. The phone number is still a certain number, so it automatically goes to York County 911 and they can transfer the call back.
you have a county line road.
Yep.
And you've got a misspelling in the last sentence, require should be a requirement.
Keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
And Frank Maris out there lives in Adams County.
Yeah.
Dillsburg number.
We had trouble with mom and dad twice.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right.
Yep.
There'll be some people.
So now, as the next Gen 911 comes on and all that technology happens, well, hopefully some of this gets cleaned up.
Yeah.
I hope, but
It's gotten better, but it was bad. And duplicate names, too. There's Ridge Avenue out there, I think it is, and you got Ridge Road. And, when it goes to York County, and you're actually on Ridge Road, they wanna go to York. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an issue at times.
Page 11, number 8. This Scott and I did not discuss. I highlighted it when I was going through and cleaning things up as something to discuss. And this has to do with site distances, access drives and site distances. I saw these in here and I wasn't sure from the engineering perspective what it was talking about or whether it was appropriate or not. We also had the caveat in there about safe site distance shall be in accordance with PennDOT requirements. I don't know if those even are PennDOT requirement standards or not. So that's why I kind of highlighted it when I found it, and realized that we might need time to think about it. But that was more of a oops. I found this. Let's discuss it.
Do we have anything in our SALDO about slopes, building on slopes?
Building structures.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna do out at JDI.
Well,
Yeah, to a degree.
yeah, but I mean, normally, every now and then you come across White Rock Acres. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
But you go up there, you go up a driveway, and all you see is sky, and suddenly, boom.
Yeah, come off.
Well, we have driveway grade requirements.
Yeah.
Some slopes.
We do have those. Yeah.
Off the road.
Well,
Yeah. it came up.
Like didn't.
Isn't there requirements
That's
on
right.
the structure on a slope as well?
no,
Okay.
there's nothing there to, somebody wanted to put a house with pillars holding up one side of it. There's nothing in this township stops
Okay.
them.
Yeah, I don't know all
I mean, we're not in an earthquake zone.
no.
Okay, well, back to this. It seems like, Scott, can you take a look at this and see if it's applicable, or it seems like it would be.
To get a driveway permit, they always do a site evaluation.
Well, for site distance, yeah.
Yeah,
This is like two streets that come together.
Well,
Well, there's two different items here. There's a clear site triangle
Yeah.
and there's safe site distance. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
Should be two separate numbers.
Well, I'm not saying it should or shouldn't. I'm just saying that there are two different things there. And under sub 1, 2, and 3, those all apply to this clear site triangle.
and that's
Right.
probably regarding what the speed limit is on the roads.
Well, the classifications of the road.
Right, of the road, yeah. Because the speed limit could be different.
Yeah, you don't want someone putting a big sign right there and blocking your
Yeah.
view as
Yeah.
you're trying to pull out.
Yeah, clear sight triangle, when you pull up, that gives, it's clear to any obstructions that you can see.
Yeah.
Right,
And oncoming traffic can see you pulling up also.
right.
Where the safe sight distance is pertaining to how far you can see out on the roadway and oncoming traffic coming maybe from a high point or somewhere like that, or a curve.
Right.
Am I correct in that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're kind of capturing the second point with one sentence that's in a paragraph that may not be the right place to capture it, though.
Yeah,
Because we're throwing in the first sentence and the 3 points are triangle.
yeah, there's,
The second sentence isn't. It kind of feels to me like it either reposition it at least, or create another
another bullet point.
bullet point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just break it up.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Are we satisfied that the safe site distance being in accordance with PennDOT, good enough just to say that and be done? I don't know.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
They're pretty strict on it.
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
all right, that's good.
And it's based on map.
Yeah,
Slope, speeds,
Yeah.
it all
Yeah.
factored into it.
okay.
Get friction.
Up next, page 13. There's two there, and there's two here on page 13. Yeah, the first one there about flag lots is highlighted just to make sure that we're still all on the same page. We had, there's a section in the zoning ordinance that'll probably need to be addressed to, we're going to go with the handle shall be a minimum of 50 feet, with and everything. There's a section in the zoning ordinance is probably going to need to be
The zoning ordinance
rewritten to
says
come to match.
Yeah, the zoning ordinance says 30 foot width minimum.
But if you're saying that shall include grading, stormwater, and everything for the access drive, 30 feet is probably not going to cut it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna be hard pressed to get all that in there.
yeah.
Well, didn't you have it on the new plans that they all have to have a 50-foot drive?
That's what my comments have been.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
But that's not in the ordinance right now.
Oh,
It's not in the ordinance. You gotta put it in
It's a
there.
recommendation.
Okay, then, well, I guess we got.
Especially with the one subdivision last year,
right. First.
where the guy had a 20-foot slope driveway and
Yeah.
20-foot wide right of way.
Okay.
And there was all kinds of problems with that.
Yeah.
All right, and then I have a separate file that I'm maintaining about sections in the zoning ordinance that need to be revised to
Be
match.
consistent,
So
yeah, okay.
that's one
Okay, good.
there.
All right.
508, this was, Scott had a comment here about solar sky easements along with easement section. As best I can tell, you have nothing now. There are solar sky ordinances out there. The two that I found up, just a quick search, was in Glen Rock and Borough and Elizabethtown Borough. I'm just going to warn you that those are it's a pretty extensive thing, and it's may or may not be appropriate for this setting. So I want to highlight it, say it's not in your ordinance now. If you want it, I can give you something, but I'm not sure that it's something that
What do you call it?
it was listed as a solar sky ordinance. Basically, it's as the residential solar has become more popular.
I think it's in the zoning. I think that's where I came up with that.
So there are some sections in the zoning. It doesn't get into the depth of what the current standards are, and it's not referenced in here at all. Now, if you want to go into that in the zoning, that's a whole separate thing. It's more of a pointing out that if you want it, there's a whole other set of standards out there.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Is that, say you have solar panels on your roof and the neighbor starts planting trees that are shadowing, that's what's to prevent?
Pretty much. I have the standards here. I can share them with you guys to you can look at it and see. I said I'm ambivalent on whether it is or isn't. It's
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up to your attention.
So,
It doesn't matter.
I mean,
It doesn't matter
it's.
to me one way or the other.
I'd say it was worth looking at to
I'd
see
like
what
to
it's
look
what it's about. I said I'm not I don't have a strong opinion, pro or con. It probably hasn't. We haven't, at least that I'm aware of, gotten a whole lot of neighbors arguing over it.
I haven't heard of any. Have we
But
had any?
that doesn't mean it doesn't happen or it won't happen.
Oh, it happens.
If you're in a
It hap-
development.
Yeah, exactly.
25 years from now,
Yeah.
the trees will
The
get up
trees
and
will
they'll
get up.
eventually
And-
block it.
And it wouldn't have to be a tree, they could put a structure up that's high enough.
Well,
so-
you're correct.
Yeah.
And the structure would happen quicker than the trees that
Yeah.
take, so we're
Trees
probably in
have
the
that
early stage of that, because
Yes.
Well, you guys might not remember this, but when they were doing Atlantic City, there was an old lady who wouldn't sell her house.
Yeah, they built right around it. and
They built over to the top of
Yep,
it.
I seen a picture of that.
Yeah, that wasn't a solar issue, though. That was,
No.
that was a different type of easement problem. Yeah.
I can't imagine it really being a problem unless you talk to Flowing Springs or a new development in case. And the only thing I can think of is there are things in the contracts for solar, because I'm looking at a couple right now, where if you do have something that impedes, it actually violates part of your contract, regardless if it's coming from your property.
Part of whose contract?
The homeowners.
Homeowners.
There's certain things that you have to abide by to make sure that you have sun coming into the panels, and if it's something's impeding that or restricting it, you don't get the guarantees that you would, regardless if it's coming from your property or not. So, but I can't imagine. I mean, most of the rural areas here, you're not going to have anything with a neighbor close enough to impede that growth, unless you're talking Flowing Springs. But even there,
Or Idaville.
or Idaville,
They're-
Yeah.
you gotta get someone right next to each other. But yeah.
I have those situated the wrong way too.
So I'll share with you what I found so you can see what it looks like.
Okay.
Like I said, I you kind of hit it on the head. Could it be an issue? Yeah. Is it a big enough issue in the town to justify it? Maybe not.
Maybe in 25 years. But
Yeah.
most of the contracts that are only 25 years worth, and they're redo them anyway at that point.
I'll share what I found. You can look
That'd be
through
great.
it.
Page 15. Page 15.
Yeah, page 15. It's just one word about shared access drives not being permitted.
Then what's the point in having the rest of the sentence there?
Yeah, that's what I was
If they're
gonna
not
ask.
permitted, period. And then it says, and shall conform to other design requirements for access drive. Well, if they're not permitted.
That was not reading.
Well, I'm just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Period.
Or if it got paid by the cent. Or
Okay.
The second sentence though, I would keep in there in case if there's existing
If
situations.
they're
Shared access
grandfathered.
drives.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
agreed.
Page 17.
You had a highlight on the bottom of 16, Andy.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just
that was just me making sure I have the right cross references in.
Okay, all right.
There might be a bunch of those where it's
All
just
right.
a section and the number highlighted. That's my code to make sure I don't send a final version before I've cross-checked it.
Okay.
511C on page 17. We talked extensively last time about the landscaping and period of replacement. The last part there about responsible for replacement, if applicable, for a period of 24 months from the date of release from improvement bond for landscaping improvements. That was what the language that Scott and I discussed on Monday.
Yeah.
I think it meets what you're talking about. So once they've been released from that bond, if it's been bonded, then that time period kicks in. Okay. Page 19. And double check here. Okay. Traffic impact studies. When we first discussed this, the part that's highlighted in red text that starts in 19 and goes on to 20 was the original version of text that I put in there. And the note that I had was basically, let's look for some new sort of trigger, is what it boiled down to. So I researched through the county, and the part highlighted in yellow is, and I'm not sure why the last part of 2 is highlighted in red, and I probably highlighted the wrong thing. But what's in yellow there is you either have the stuff that's in red or you have the stuff that's in yellow around the county. And this is basically triggered based on the projected new trips that either 200 per day or 20 new trips in the peak hour. And that's getting 20 trips in the peak hour by those things, depending on what you're doing, takes a decent sized building to unit proposal to get there. But that's based on a manual that's published and maintained by an engineering advocacy group. That manual is pretty much the standard nationwide for trip generation. The state DOTs use it, traffic engineers use it. It's basically the accepted standard for projecting trips. They use traffic studies from around the country for all types of uses to project what it could be. I mean, you can have, for one use, you can have 15, 20 different ways of calculating trips. So that's a very black and white threshold. So that would be the alternate there.
Just one point there. We do have at least one I can think of where we're in the zoning code where we require a traffic study for a specific application, and that was the sports complex. A sports complex, wasn't any sports complex. We have a requirement for a traffic study. So I just want to make sure we don't say something here that either contradicts that or.
I have a note down here to check that.
Check that, yeah.
Well, the convenience store, that wasn't listed.
It may be, as I said, I know of one, I can't
I'm
remember.
curious about that because we
Yeah.
went through that, got that down here for that, there 15.
So I guess my point is, if we have it somewhere in the code, I don't want this to supersede that and say, well, it doesn't apply there because it doesn't meet this.
Okay. Again, maybe a question. If you like this one, maybe you have to go back and
Well, we didn't even we just said, if you're putting in a sports complex, you need a traffic study, period.
Yeah.
And this gives thresholds.
Yeah. Which it's appropriate to have thresholds.
Right.
Because you could have something else where you didn't write it into the code for that particular issue, but it would meet this requirement. Yeah.
So are you comfortable with the threshold versus the original text at a starting point?
I think I am.
Or do you want to add a third point in there beyond the 200 per day, 20 per peak hour, and add in, or as determined if based on consolidate 1 through 6 into something about
That's a good point.
impact on adjacent.
Because that's a broader number than what you had before, correct? That's a larger number than what you had before, correct?
Correct.
You were much tighter on the original.
Yes.
Do we want to go that far or what? Go from the low number to the high number.
I'll put it this way: that 20 and 200 threshold is the standard that some of the larger
That's what they use.
municipalities get more development are using.
Okay.
This township may probably never experience something like that.
But
You never say never.
But I'd want to have some of the,
Convenience store would trigger.
yeah.
Yeah.
But even in some of the places, you put something just a moderate size in some of these tight spots that we have in this township, could fall into one of the 1 through 7, which I'd want it to.
Of the existing, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you're saying is you'd rather see those still in?
Yeah.
Well, I remember we had a big argument when we had the trailer park discussion. That was one big thing in terms of the trip generation
Yeah.
that we were arguing
But I
about.
can't tell you what they proposed
Yeah.
anymore. It was 20 years ago, more than that.
What I can do is take a look at those 1 through 7 again and see if there's a way I can consolidate that into something that gets to the point where if it, it's this threshold, or if we decide that there's an impact here based on some factor or some location that warrants a look at. I'll give an example where you are putting in a new use connecting, a couple dozen vehicles and large trucks a day right by an interchange.
Yes.
Right by an exit ramp. And it might not hit the threshold, but, putting slow-moving trucks pulling out where people are trying to get onto a ramp is not a good idea.
Yep.
Type of thing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you might want to, hey, let's take a look at this.
Yep.
And Lotto.
And that gives the, the
I was trying not
supervisors,
to say where, but yeah.
Yeah,
give the supervisors the flexibility to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that.
but that was already existing, and, I don't know.
Anyway.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
The only other thing in this is on section 519, the homeowner associations is what would trigger it, and it's things where there's community areas, private streets, or alleys, or private or basically where there's public improvements that are owned by private that are owned privately. There has to be some manner of owning it and maintaining it. So that's the only things that would trigger that requirement. I have another municipality where I wrote that for the first point that any new residential development they want that to apply to. I'm like, are you really sure you want to do that? Because FYI, you're going to have to be the ones that deal with the people over it, and they're like, "Yep, we do." Okay, your choice. No, fine.
Okay.
That's everything on that. Article 6 is the last part here. I don't know that there's a whole lot of notes here. On page 1, that was 602 and 602A. There was multiple references in there to basically the streets have to be designed in accordance with the design standards in Article 5. That was just cleaning the language up. The highlights on page 2 were making sure they have the right section references. And then on page 6 and 7, this is the dedication of rec land. I'm just having put that in there and highlighted just to make sure that, again, are we comfortable with numbers in there, in the off, unlikely chance it ever gets used type of situation. You don't get enough residential development to, there's another way to do it officially, which is to do a recreation study, and you get down an actual calculated number based on improvements. You're not at a point where any of that that's worthwhile doing. So
who actually, if you do this, okay, who actually owns that rec land and who actually maintains that rec land?
that gets to part of the question as to there. Now it could very well be
HOA.
like an HOA type situation.
I know an issue not too far from here. There's 3.5 acres that was set aside.
Right.
And nothing ever happened.
Right. Which is why in most municipalities that have enough development to do it, it ends up being the fee in lieu of, and then they use that to fund donations or maintenance activities at existing facilities.
It's been farmed the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I guess these senior
Because it never happened.
developments don't do that, because I guess they figure they're too old, they ain't gonna do nothing?
Well,
If
there's
you,
other passive rec though. I mean, public trails,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
if there, it's, so the rec fees are by unit, regardless of ownership type. So
Or
they,
you have
if,
kids or, yeah, just, if you
if
own
it,
one,
yeah, if you have,
Okay.
yeah,
rec fee.
You start
Like
collecting.
Amblebrook, you pay the whole thing at Amblebrook, but that's in your monthly.
Now,
Yeah, it's like an
to be clear, they could, it said the municipalities could very well look at something like that where they're clearly building their own facilities and say, okay, you guys are doing more than that, we'll count that as your meeting your requirements. That could very well
But
happen.
they're maintaining that and they're collecting the fee to maintain it
Right.
as a monthly stipend or whatever.
Yes, and there is a developer in the county that his entire business model is built around getting people to move from Amblebrook to where he's selling because they're tired of paying that monthly fee.
If a township collects rec fees,
Yep.
you gotta designate, the township has to designate where that's going to. I mean,
Yeah.
they can't just spend it,
Elsewhere.
yeah, it has to be in a fund.
Yeah, it's not
It
fungible.
gets-
Well, it should be.
So, right,
on,
right.
Rec fund.
Somebody will rent it.
Yeah.
A developer will get you on that
How many,
quick.
how many times have we heard that happen?
Well, most people in Adams County are aware of the fact that the county has a green space program
Yeah.
that the state kicks money into. And we have a grant program that municipalities apply to build a park or some facility. Could be a hiking trail. We've got several of them going now. When you think about you could walk from one side of Huntington Township quite a ways over this way and probably only step on 3 or 4 properties.
You picked the right place, maybe.
The other thing to be aware of it with this section, it would only be triggered for projects that are creating more than 10 units.
10 minutes, yeah.
So there's a threshold there
The
to.
one I'm referencing, there are 38 lots on,
Okay.
because it's an ancient development, and it never was carried through.
So in other municipalities like this, like Huntington, that don't have a form, that have this version of the standard in there, you get a plan in, and don't see a lot of development. You get a plan in, they'd see it and say it'd be like a discussion point. Okay, there's this rec land section. Developer, what do you propose? And they're like, do you guys want parkland? Maybe not. Okay, then what? How can we get around this? And oftentimes it works as a donation there, and then you guys can use it for as you see fit. I know of one municipality that donates it to the entity that runs the local park. Others donate it to the regional situation. It can vary. If you don't have any facilities yourself, so it could go to something out here. It could go to the park, the end of town. It could go to some Latimer Park. There could be a bunch of things that you would decide to do with it. If by some chance it would come up now, you'd have to get a property develop more than 10 units to trigger it. And by my knowledge, there's only been one project like that discussed in the past many years. So,
And what you don't want is create a bunch of tiny little tot lots
Right.
all over the place that the township has to maintain. That don't work.
no, last one rec plan I did was down in Reading Township around Hampton. They have some developments around Hampton, and their whole goal there was to collect money. The combination of things: one, collect money, and then from that, in combination with some of the developments there, get land to expand the facilities in Hampton, and then use a combination of getting the dedication of land plus the rec fees from others to sort of self-fund it, and failing that, use it to donate to the community center and things like that. So there was a plan, but again, there's a difference between a township that may have 200-300 units generating fees
Yeah.
versus one that has had one significant residential development
Yeah.
that's actually been built in the past 25 years.
Yeah, that's-
That's all that I have. There's a few things we'll have to look at from the conversation here tonight.
Okay.
But that in terms of that's I don't think that's too much in terms of additional rewriting. So you don't have this, but it's so we have 4, 5, 6. We talked about the mobile home parks. That's out. All that's left is administration and legal sections, which I'll start, but that's something that probably want to run by Todd, just to make sure that there might be things that he wants in there,
Okay.
and definitions. So the next big section you'll get will be the definition section. I haven't one started that has the stuff we've talked about.
Okay.
For next month, I'm going to try to get some of these edits done,
Okay.
and maybe in January we'll pick up the definitions
Okay.
stuff.
That sounds good.
So hopefully we can get it to you in December so that you can look at it and then we can discuss it back. So
Great.
with that time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks for your help.
This wraps up all the old business, doesn't it, Gus?
What?
That's all the old business.
Yep.
We got new business, we gotta make sure we got this meeting dates for November and December straightened out. Well, officially, I guess, back at the beginning of the year, supervisors, Jeff, if you, back in the beginning of the year, there was the list of the dates issued,
Yeah,
and that was advertised back,
as far as I know, I guess
Okay.
it was.
Maybe.
and back then, it was the 20th.
Did we miss something or?
Well,
Stand by.
November 25th and December 23rd were the dates that were on that list. Now, there's been some discussion going back and forth. And it was advertised to change those dates to November 18th and December 16th. Now, we didn't take any action in this board to change those dates. So that advertisement wasn't really official, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, I'm
Well-
good.
Let me back up a little bit here. I'll take responsibility for it because when I took this job, Pat came to me sometime in December, I believe it was, and wanted to know what dates we wanted to meet. And then when I looked at it, I thought, we got Memorial Day, and then we had Thanksgiving, deer season, and Christmas. And so I changed the dates, and she accepted them and ran them. Well, this year, I did that also. And, I mean, we always approve the dates at the reorganizational meeting the Board of Supervisors does. However, this time, the dates I had picked out for 2024 were not the ones that were published in the paper. And so there was so I took it upon myself and went with the old rule about Thanksgiving and deer season and Christmas. And I changed it and I advertised it. It's been advertised in the paper.
Okay.
So the new dates that I advertised were November 18th and December 16th.
Right, right.
All right. Now, I realize, I don't think do any of you guys hunt?
Well, I do, but I don't go upstate or anything.
Well, I don't hunt at night. So,
Well, but if you're away, you can't make it back here.
yeah, that's
All
right.
right. So it's not an issue anymore. I changed these dates on my own. I stuck my neck out. I got yelled at. So next year, we'll make the decision as a group, whatever dates you guys want for the November, December, and Memorial Day, and then we'll vote on it and make that recommendation to the Board of
We
Supervisors.
should do that in December before.
Exactly.
All right. Now, I guess the big question, the elephant in the room is what, the 16th and the
18th.
18th and the 16th.
Yeah.
How many people can be here for that meeting?
I can't.
I can't for the 18th.
I can't for either.
So, what do we, I don't know.
The dates were advertised.
Yes, I understand.
And I just, this isn't about me, but I plan my travel so I can be here. I have board meetings in other parts of the country, and so I plan my travel so I can be here for these dates and the county dates.
Okay. I didn't know, okay, that's fine.
So there'd be at least two missing, and that takes you down to 5. And if there's any sickness or anything, you need 4 for a quorum.
For a quorum, yeah.
So I'll leave it open to you guys. And what do you want to do? Do you want to, if anything, we want to change these dates now, we'd have to re-advertise, take action today, and then instruct us to re-advertise. So,
Well, so the November one is scheduled for the 25th. Thanksgiving's the 28th, correct?
right,
Yes.
Well, deer season doesn't start till the 30th.
that's correct.
So there's no conflict as far as hunting for the original
Bear
date.
season, maybe.
Correct. There isn't.
Pardon me.
Yeah.
Forgive me, but yes. But as far as deer hunting,
It's not
that's not a
a
conflict.
deer season issue. Correct.
So is there a need to even change that, the November?
Well, it's already changed for
Oh.
this
But
year.
it's not changed officially.
It is.
No, it isn't. We took no action.
You're right.
Either
I'm
us
sorry
or the
about that.
Board of Supervisors did
Yeah.
not take action to change it.
Okay.
So you did change it by advertising, which we can't ignore. That did happen. But that's not a change, except by advertising, just to be clear.
Okay.
So,
I didn't see.
does anybody have any problem with, I mean, I can make any of them, so it's up to the rest of you guys.
It's fine with me either.
I want to confirm.
You know, I never go anywhere, so I'm always here,
Well,
unless I die.
that 25th doesn't seem like it's an issue. What about the 23rd? That's
Of December.
December, that's,
2 days before Christmas.
It's 2 days before. I mean, that's a fair discussion.
That you might have people out of town.
Yeah. I mean,
But not Jeff, because he doesn't go anywhere.
yeah.
does anybody have any problems with the 23rd?
No.
I don't have a problem with the 23rd.
I
Of
can
December,
make
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of December. No, I
I
can
planned
make
on being here, and
both of the original
Schedule.
dates I can make.
I do have a problem if it went to the week before. But again, I'm one person. You don't have to schedule around me.
And you
Well,
can
you're
make
important.
December, but you cannot make November.
In the brain.
Right.
Sunday?
This is being recorded. I know you are.
Gotcha.
I have a legitimate.
Well, I'll entertain a motion that, okay. Entertain a motion that we use the dates that were on this sheet that I got was November 25th and December 23rd.
And in that motion, though, it has to be re-advertised.
And re-advertised,
Yes,
correct.
I will make that motion.
I will second it.
A motion by Tom, second by Jeff.
All right, give me them dates again.
It's the one, well, I'm sorry.
November 25th and December 23rd.
All right.
The dates that are in
The
the
original
documents that were
Okay.
approved by the Board of Supervisors.
We'll go with that.
Well, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So moved.
I'd like to make one comment. Gus, your heart is in the right place on this, so I'm not
Yeah.
upset with what happened. But I do want us to follow appropriate processes and procedures. That should come before us or the Board of Supervisors. They can make decisions without us. They are very good at asking for our opinions, especially about our opinions about our meetings. But that's when it should be, how and when it should be.
All right. Not a problem. I'll take care of it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Is there any other new business?
You'll have the dates ready for the December meeting. Good.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Any other new business, anybody?
Well, no new business, but I'm just curious, has anyone heard anything on the broadband project that we talked about some time ago? Or is that
Yeah.
one of those things that's talked about and not gonna?
That's pretty much a joke.
Well, it is a joke. Back when Tom Ridge was governor, he gave a bunch of money to one of the big phone companies, and they didn't do anything. And so, in our case, Adams County got bypassed. The high-speed internet comes up from Maryland, through York County, Dauphin County, Cumberland, down to Franklin. Goes right around us. Now, there's money in the state budget that's supposed to go and pay for high-speed internet for Adams County. However, back when we were members of the COG, I went to those meetings, I listened to those guys, and at that time, all the companies said that they weren't gonna hang any more copper, and fiber optics was a big question mark as far as any of them were concerned about expanding high-speed internet. And so we've lived with what we've had. So now, the money's there, everyone's yelling at the Xfinity and Comcast and Brightspeed that when are we gonna get this? Well, the money's sitting there, I don't know why it isn't moving, but hopefully we'll get it one of these days.
I just dealt with Brightspeed about two weeks ago, and
Yeah,
I was getting 2 megabytes speed.
yeah,
Two.
that's the best you can do.
2. So I talked to them. They said, "Well, we'll give you a good deal on the fiber optic." I said, "Well, you can't get fiber optic out here because you don't have it." Oh, when I got around to it, I was canceling the service with them, and they said, "Well, if you just wait a while, we'll have fiber optic out there." I said, "Well, when's that going to be?" "Well, we can't tell you that."
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what you run into with any of those companies.
So I went.
The only person I think who has
What the technician tells you, sign up for Starlink.
Well, I went to 5G Verizon.
That's all, because we went through that with them.
I got
That's what
100.
they
I got
tell you.
100. I got a 100 speed with just a 5G box. I'm not trying to promote them, but it's a lot better than 2.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've come a little further than my little place on Gun Club, but not just a little bit further for the coax. Well, I've been on coax since we moved here.
I can get 6-7 devices running TV.
You went to Verizon.
We went to T-Mobile,
T-Mobile 5G.
Okay.
but still, it's not fast. Not like Kyle's.
Yeah, you need to be on coax, so you
Yep.
need to be on, and you're not going to be. But before I pontificate on, Andy, did you want to say something from a county perspective? And I'll maybe.
The one thing I can offer is, I know that it's being worked on at levels above me. I can get an update for you on the monies and projects and then whatever has being worked on. I know it's being worked on at the commissioner's level. So
So this is all now,
I'll get an update for you and I can share it with you next meeting.
that would be great.
Yeah.
This is largely in the hands now of the Infrastructure Act and the Inflation Reduction Act.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no longer what Tom Wolf did 30 years ago or whenever that was. That's long gone.
Right.
That procedure's long gone, that process is long gone. And if you want more details, read a couple of the recent articles in the Wall Street Journal on how this money's been squandered.
I'll get enough. I think what you're referring to is this. There was a study that was done between here and Franklin County.
Right.
Yes.
That
Right.
identified this area up here as
Correct.
one of the other
Very low
areas.
served.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are.
Wasn't Quality here and talked to us
Yes.
about it?
And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you
yeah.
did.
The only area in
And really
Huntington
didn't
that's
say
really
anything.
got any chance is up there on labor camp because Comcast has that cable.
Yeah.
And their stuff is better,
There's only so many arteries.
but very pricey.
We appreciate,
I'll
we
get-
appreciate
I'll
any
find-
help
I'll
you
find
can.
something
Yeah, that'd be a
out
great
for you.
update.
Yeah.
I know some buzz I can push.
Because we are in line. We're at the, kind of the front of the line countywide,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of people in the front of the line that
The
billions of
kickback from
dollars.
the
will
bright
cost.
speed side of it is they own all the utility poles
Yeah.
and they're not going to basically allow somebody else to come in and use their
Hang their
poles to run it.
Well, you can actually run it on the electrical company poles as well, and not run it through the DSL poles, which is how we got some things done. So
See, Adams Electric started.
Adams Electric
They
was
started-
great on this.
Oh, shoot, Scatcom.
Yeah.
They started Scatcom, and eventually, as it moved from Adelphia to Comcast, has got all that network.
Yes,
And that's,
but they still have to have the coax in place.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they have.
And
It's-
they have it in some places.
Yeah, most of it's.
That, if I was holding out my hope for
most
the
of it's
future,
started.
it's not gonna be fiber optic around here in any time, relatively soon.
No.
But if they can move the coax, but it's gotta get through so many federal barriers now. You think it was hard back when the state ran it? It's not how it's run right now. Okay,
They just don't have the customers to get to draw the money back on the service for what
yeah,
they have to spend.
Well,
I wish that was the only problem.
you know, I went back to the Stone Age. My wife and I have
Oh, yeah?
2 different email accounts, and when it was switched to Brightspeed, I got into a feud with them, and they told me to get lost. And so I don't have email at home.
Get Gmail. Get Gmail.
You
I don't have
have
Gmail.
to have, be able to
And
deliver
guess
Gmail.
what?
He doesn't have a way of delivering.
you
it.
You don't have the
Yeah.
internet at home.
I don't have the internet.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm paying for, but anyway, the nice thing about it is I go to my computer and I don't have all them emails I gotta delete.
No, that's one advantage.
Yep, and I don't have any garbage in there.
None of the advertisements.
But I will say the one issue, and Marla, you brought it up, is this Brightspeed, these old DSL poles and stuff. They're falling down. The two, Kyle, near your mother's house and our house, they're being held up by trees. The poles have already fallen against
Yeah.
trees.
Yep, they have.
I know right here along 94,
Yeah,
that tree
yeah.
that's been laying on that one.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
that's.
Our whole
yeah.
service is
year.
gonna get knocked out. There's a 24-inch oak tree hanging on the side
Yeah.
of 94. The power line, and not power lines, the
Yeah, DSL.
telephone
Yeah.
DSL lines
Yeah,
are
the
touching the
DSL
ground
That
with
Yeah.
that pole. And that tree's,
Yeah, they're
Yes.
Hershey's.
that tree's just a
Yeah.
couple feet from sliding out onto the road.
Yes.
I mean, it's probably what,
That-
20, 30 foot.
That's an
long
issue
trunk.
that we're gonna have to address.
And they won't
as a
do, they
community.
won't do it until that tree comes out in the road and everybody loses
Yeah.
service, then they'll come out and do it.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
why you have to get your service another way,
Yeah.
because that is not reliable.
Is there any other important topics?
Darn good question.
Not, I'll open up to public comments. Do you have any?
Not this month.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, now our next meeting, just to clarify this, next meeting will be on the
Remember?
November 25th.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, the motion. Second. Made and second. All in favor, say
Everyone
aye.
wants to stay longer.
So moved.
No.